She was down to her last $20 when the letter arrived. The one that said her café, her late father's dream, was gone. The bank had sold her debt to a private investor. The same day, a black car stopped outside her shop window, and a tall man in a charcoal suit stepped out. "Miss Carter," he said, calm, composed, unreadable. "I've bought your debt. You owe me now. If you believe true kindness always finds its way back, please tap the like button now and subscribe to support more stories like this." Emily Carter didn't recognize the man, but she'd seen his name before. Alexander Reed, the elusive CEO whose empire stretched from Seattle to New York. The same man her side job had quietly asked her to spy on, in exchange for wiping her remaining hospital bills. It had started months earlier, when her mother's medical debt buried her and her cafe began to fail. Emily took a desperate offer from an information agency. They wanted photos, internal memos, anything from Reed Industries that could prove unethical practices. Emily never met the client directly. She only knew the money arrived on time and that she could finally breathe again. Until now. Alexander looked at her like a man who already knew everything. "You can't pay me back," he said softly, "so I'm giving you a choice. Marry me for 1 year and your debt is gone." Her pulse stilled. It sounded like a cruel joke, but his tone wasn't cruel. It was empty, almost tired. She signed the papers the next morning. The weeks that followed felt like living in a silent movie. He gave her a mansion overlooking the bay, but never entered her side of the house. Dinners were polite but hollow, smiles perfectly staged. Emily tried to convince herself she was doing this only for survival, but the more she watched him, how he stopped to greet the old gardener, how he lingered at his father's old piano every night, the more her curiosity turned to something deeper, and guilt began to eat her alive. Because each night, she still sent encrypted updates to the agency. She told herself it was harmless, just data, nothing personal. But then she saw him take a call one evening, voice trembling as he whispered, "No, I won't sell the orphanage property. It's not for profit, it's their home." That was the night she stopped sending reports. Months passed. Then came the storm, the real one. A scandal broke out online. Confidential documents from Reed Industries had been leaked. The agency had used her old submissions to fabricate a case of fraud. Reporters swarmed his office. Investors fled. And when she walked into his study, his face was pale, eyes hollow. "You were the leak," he said quietly. "Not an accusation, just fact." Her knees buckled. She confessed everything. How she'd been hired before they met, how she stopped when she realized who he truly was. Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, "I'll sign anything, disappear. Just please believe I didn't mean to hurt you." He stood there for a long time before walking past her. No words, just silence that cut deeper than any anger. The next morning she was gone. Weeks turned into months. Emily took a small job at a community library in Portland. She stopped checking the news, stopped hoping for forgiveness. Then one winter afternoon, a man in a coat walked through the door. Alexander. He looked different, gentler, tired but somehow lighter. He handed her a folded letter. "You once said you wanted to rebuild your cafe," he murmured. "It's yours again, paid in full." She shook her head, tears spilling. "Why would you do that? After everything Because kindness doesn't wait for perfection," he said quietly. "You were trying to save your family. I was trying to protect mine. Maybe that's what love looks like when it's broken but still real." In the letter was a deed to her cafe, and beside it, a note written in his careful script, "Start over. No debts, no contracts, just you." She reopened the cafe that spring. Some mornings, she still half expected him to walk through the door, order his usual black coffee, and sit by the window like before. He never did. But one day, a check arrived in the mail, signed only with his initials, AR, and a message that read, "For the Community Center Renovation Fund. Keep doing good, Emily. It's what you were born for." She smiled through her tears and framed the note on the cafe wall. If you had told her a year ago that the man who once bought her debt would become the reason she believed in forgiveness again, she would have laughed. But now she understood. Some debts are never meant to be repaid in money, only in kindness. We'd love to hear your story. What is the most memorable act of unexpected kindness you have witnessed or received? Share it in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to remind the world that even in the messiest corners of life, compassion can still write the most beautiful endings.